So this being pilot survey, one of the principal objectives was basically to see to what extent the survey is feasible, but then also the second objective was to draw certain lessons that could be applied, that can be applied at a later stage. And in this context, the evaluation by respondents themselves were precious to us. So basically, all the questionnaires, including children questionnaires, they contain questions about evaluation of the interview itself. So when we asked the children at the end of the interview, how did you feel about participating in this interview and answering my questions, around 80% of children said that they felt well or even brilliant, whereas most of the remaining kids felt that they declared they felt neutral, while a very small share of children declared that they did not feel well or not well at all. When it comes to the question on the understanding of the questions, well, very important feedback. Around slightly more than three quarters of the children said that they understood questions well or very well. However, that leaves us with around 1/4 of the children who thought that their understanding of the question was so-so or not very good. When it comes to adults, parents, for instance, an important question that should be taken into account when designing future questionnaires: did you find the interview to be too lengthy or exhausting? There's an interesting difference here, is that basically among parents of newborns, around 60% say that not at all. They did not find the interview to be too lengthy, not at all. But this was only the case with 40% of parents of 8-year-olds. Why this difference? That could be maybe even counterintuitive. Well, because the parents of 8-year-olds, when answering the questions, they also take into account the fact that their child answered the interview as well. So basically, the interview did take place longer for them than it did for parents of newborns. This being a panel study or future panel study, one of the key questions in the evaluation is how likely would you participate in an interview such as this one in the future, in a few years. Around half or more than a half of respondents suggest that they would participate with pleasure, or they say that it's quite likely. So more than a half, or 2/3, around 2/3, we can say that we can count on their participation in the next in Guideway 1. However, there's some 10% of respondents who say that they would be not at all interested in participating in the future survey. So much about evaluation. Given all these considerations, and some of the considerations maybe not directly discussed today, we come up with a set of what we call survey takeaways and reflective points. Some of these concern survey preparation and implementation, while the others concern the content of the questionnaire. So survey takeaway: recruitment method matters. Yes, it does, because the evaluation of for instance, evaluation of the interview was less favorable in the settings where the recruitment was taking place in public places, as compared to the settings where the recruitment was taking place based on random sample or starting more based on when contacting seed respondents. Financial incentives increase response rates and improve respondents' feedback. In some countries, there were no financial incentives, while in some other countries, the respondents were given small gifts ranging from 10 euros to 20 euros, depending on the country and respondent group. And yes, the feedback was better in the settings where these incentives were present. CAVI, so computer-assisted video interviewing, is to be considered for hard-to-reach populations. So we have not received the report from the Finnish agency yet. But the initial, but I do have data on evaluation, and actually the evaluation among Finnish respondents is very, very, very positive. So CAVI may not only be considered as a tool to reach hard-to-reach population, but even maybe as an alternative to CAPI. Then we may need more thorough training for child interviews. As for the questionnaire, there's some evidence that in some contexts, some children have difficulties answering 5-scale answers. And then there are also some existential questions, such as the meaning of life, or are you optimistic about the future? They were somewhat too abstract for at least some 8-year-olds. We would also probably need further discussion about potential intrusive questions. This would not necessarily mean that we should remove them, but maybe that these questions, that the respondents could answer these questions on their own rather than answering directly to the interviewer. And then, yeah, given the evaluations that we received, the question of the length of the questionnaire deserves to be discussed. And to conclude, survey, well, the main message, the pilot survey has been a success. It's feasible. It's taken place, and the pilots took place around the same time we reached the desired sample size. The feedback from the respondents is very positive, and we can argue that the questionnaire content constitutes a very solid base for future questionnaire for guide wave 1. There are some, I mean, this is also the point of pilot surveys, also to reveal where are the improvement opportunities. And in our view, there is some room for the improvement of sampling methodology, or at least in some contexts and in some countries. This also concerns the refined recruitment techniques, and also, well, training procedures. In this context, the role of the Guide Prep Horizon project that runs until the second half of 2026 could be very important, because Guide Prep has specific work packages for each of these aspects of the future service. So work packages that aim to improve each of these aspects of the questionnaire and of the survey in general. So thank you for listening.